Okay, let's dive in. What if I told you that just being, say, 1% better each day could actually revolutionize your life within a year? Sounds
No.
almost too simple, doesn't it? Today on the Deep Dive, we're going deep into James Clear's really influential book, Atomic Habits. And this deep dive, it's really for you, designed to give you a practical, science-backed kind of roadmap for understanding and, well, truly transforming your habits.
Yeah, and our mission here is to move way beyond just motivation. We want to really dig into the core principles, what makes this book resonate so much. We're going to explore how these tiny, almost atomic changes, as Clear calls them, actually build up into significant, lasting life transformations. And it's all grounded in solid behavioral science and psychology.
Right. So let's unpack that first big idea, this counterintuitive power of small changes. Atomic Habits really champions this concept. The tiny improvements, just that 1% better each day, they stack up. They accumulate into this huge impact over a year. Such a shift in focus, isn't it? Away from the big, maybe overwhelming gestures towards these consistent, almost invisible daily efforts. What do you think is the biggest misconception people have about this before they really get what Clear's saying?
That's a really good question because what's truly well, revelatory here is the why behind it. See, most people, they obsess over the goal, right? The big win, a new job, losing X pounds, whatever it is. But Clear's insight is that progress, it isn't really linear. It's more exponential. Often so subtle at first you barely notice it. It's that quiet, consistent nudge, just 1% better, that slowly, almost invisibly bends your whole life's trajectory. Over time, those massive leaps start to feel, well, inevitable instead of impossible.
Like compounding interest almost.
Exactly like compounding interest. It's the perfect analogy. A small, consistent return day after day, it just totally outweighs sporadic, huge efforts. Clear even uses examples like tiny shifts in form for Olympic cyclists that led to massive gains. It shows how even our brain pathways strengthen bit by bit.
Okay, so one of the most practical things the book offers is this core framework, the 4 laws of behavior change. It breaks down how any habit actually works. First, there's the cue, that's the trigger, right? What kicks things off. Then the craving the motivation, the desire for a change in state. After that, the response, the actual habit, the action you take. And finally, the reward, that satisfaction that reinforces the loop, makes you want to do it again. So if those are the 4 steps, which one do you find people tend to struggle with the most? Or maybe, where's the biggest leverage point for making a change?
That's a brilliant question, actually, because it gets right to the core of how you intervene. People often focus hard on the response, the action itself. I need to stop doing X or start doing Y. But maybe the most common struggle, and interestingly, often the most powerful leverage point, is the cue. We're often surprisingly unaware of the little triggers that set off our daily routines, good or bad.
Right, they just happen automatically.
Exactly. And the book does this masterfully. It simplifies some pretty complex psychology, drawing from behavioral science, habit loops, conditioning. It boils it down into this really practical model for intervention and change. And what's so powerful isn't just the simplification, it's that it hands you a diagnostic tool. Once you understand cue, craving, response, reward, you stop seeing bad habits as like personal failings and start seeing them more as design flaws in a system you can actually redesign, which leads to that important question for you listening. How can you use this framework? How can you spot the cues and maybe tweak the system in your own life?
Yeah, that reframing is powerful. And speaking of transformative ideas, the book dives deep into identity-based habits. This one feels really profound. It's not just about setting goals or even just changing what you do. It's about changing who you believe you are.
Absolutely. That's a crucial distinction, maybe the most crucial.
Yeah.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the book gives that great example. Shifting from saying, I'm trying to go to the gym, which is action-based, to saying, I am a fit person, which is identity-based. When you internalize that new identity, it provides this deep, intrinsic motivation. It makes the habits feel natural, almost automatic. It becomes about becoming the type of person who just does those things rather than forcing yourself with sheer willpower.
So it moves from doing something to being someone.
Precisely. It's a fundamental shift.
Okay, another key distinction the book hammers home is focusing on systems over goals. It makes it really clear that just setting a goal, I want to lose 10 pounds, that's not enough by itself. You need a reliable system like planning meals daily, having a consistent workout schedule to actually get there and stay there. It seems so obvious when you say it, but it's amazing how often we just focus on the target.
It does seem obvious, but it fundamentally redirects your energy, doesn't it? Goals, they're about the outcome you want. But systems, Systems are about the processes that actually lead to those outcomes. And the book really highlights that consistent daily action embedded within a strong system, that's the real engine of progress, not just wishing for the goal. And this is why it matters for you. It gives you a tangible blueprint, something to focus on today that leads to the long-term results. It helps you avoid that common trap of just relying on motivation, which, let's face it, comes and goes.
It's about building the track, not just staring at the destination.
Exactly. Well put.
Atomic Habits also shines a really interesting light on something we probably underestimate quite a bit: the huge influence of our environment on our habits. The book explains this so simply but powerfully. It's not all just in our heads, is it?
Not at all. And he gives such concrete examples of how these subtle environmental cues, they can be total game changers. Clear talks about things as simple as leaving your running shoes right by the front door versus hidden in a closet. Apparently, that alone can significantly increase the odds you'll actually go for that run. It sounds almost ridiculously simple.
Yeah, it does.
But it highlights how much our environment shapes our default behaviors. Have you ever noticed that in your own life? Like maybe how your workspace setup affects your focus?
Oh, definitely. 100%. If my desk is a mess, my mind feels messy. I'm much less likely to sit down and get focused work done. It's amazing. Sometimes just a quick 5-minute tidy up can completely shift how productive I feel for the next few hours.
Exactly. See, that's the power Clear is talking about. He empowers you to become an architect of your own environment, to proactively design your surroundings so the good habits are easier, maybe even unavoidable, and the bad habits are harder. It's not about needing superhuman self-discipline all the time. It's about making the right choices, the path of least resistance. You're essentially engineering your environment for success.
So when you pull it all together, what makes Atomic Habits really stand out? There are so many self-help books. For me, it's that simple language and the super relatable everyday examples that makes these big psychological ideas feel very accessible.
I agree. It offers not just the why, the motivation, but the how. Clear, practical strategies that, honestly, anyone can start applying immediately today. And it feels designed for the long haul, you know? The insights aren't just things you read and forget. They're meant to slowly integrate, become part of how you operate. This book isn't just another guide. It really feels like a practical roadmap for making positive, lasting changes. It gives you that blueprint for creating a life where the good habits feel almost effortless and the bad ones just get harder and harder to stick with.
Yeah, Atomic Habits truly delivers on that core promise, transforming your life through these tiny, consistent changes, all guided by a really clear scientific framework. It's just a profoundly useful book.
It really is. And it leaves you with that powerful thought. If every habit you have is like casting a vote for the type of person you want to become, well, what kind of person are you voting for today? Something to think about. How can you start casting those votes? Maybe just one small